Hey, welcome to my channel, or welcome back, loyal viewers. I'm Carrie, the nosy housefrau, and today I'll be sticking my nose in on the hot topic of Shane Dawson's video, The Return of Eugenia Cooney. And this is a little bit different of a style for me. I had so many thoughts, I get so thinky that I had to write them out. So it's part vlogger, part writer, and I hope it's not a style that will annoy you, but let me know. I know you don't hold back. I watched Shane Dawson's video, The Return of Eugenia Cooney. And as always, I enjoyed spending an hour with the man. It's easy to see why he's so popular. In what is now becoming a staple of Shane's documentary-style videos, he spends a lot of time pre-visit. He begins by giving the viewer a full backstory on Eugenia's rise to YouTube fame and all of the attention that followed. The good, the bad, the unconscionable. He spoke with his friend and resident psychologist Kati Morton, who, in spite of being a controversial figure due to the BetterHelp scandal, links below, gave Shane very competent advice on the do's and don'ts of speaking with someone in this type of recovery. By virtue of these instructions being in his vlog, it does come across a bit like speaking about someone while they're in the room. Don't mention what she looks like, Kati tells him. Well, we know she's going to see this, so you kind of just did. But that's arguably nitpicky, and I can see why Shane would want to educate his viewers to how sensitive he intends to be approaching this topic with Eugenia. While I was eager to get to the unanswered questions of Eugenia's story, I can't say I minded hanging out in Shane's kitchen with him. He and Ryland are so charming that one could imagine forgetting the time as you listen to them talk about everything and anything, and let's face it, bask in the glow of their positivity. Cutesy knickknacks can be seen here and there adorning the countertops, as if to suggest that even their seriously beautiful kitchen isn't to be taken too seriously. The video continues to show us multiple shots of Shane walking, preparing, while voiceovers play, Eugenia being the topic of conversation. One of them is a panel that includes Ryland. We then see Shane in the car sharing his usual pre-visit jitters. He expresses his anxiety of not having seen her in 5 years and never hearing her say the name of her disorder. As Shane ruminates, we see images of Eugenia during the narration. There are various video clips of her in an emaciated state that are difficult to look at. She is smiling, laughing, enjoying herself, while arguably dying. When Shane gets to Eugenia's, she lights up and gives him a tour. She is looking much healthier than the last time we saw her, and I could almost feel the collective sigh of relief. She is her usual upbeat self, and of course, Shane's non-judgmental nature is good for anyone to be around. There are some big laughs before they sit down to talk about Eugenia's treatment, the discussion of the house, its history, and the no-limit sign over the toilet were the highlights for me. I belly laughed. But then they get serious, and this is where it gets particularly controversial for people. Eugenia has made it clear that she will answer any questions. Shane invites Eugenia to tell her story, saying that he has never heard her say she has a problem or what it is. Eugenia starts by saying, "I was dealing with an eating disorder." She goes on to say why she chooses not to label that, and much of her conversation does seem to minimize the words they are avoiding. They hang in the air. Anorexia nervosa, starvation. These are terms whose avoidance seems to be mutually understood. Eugenia goes on to speak about what treatment was like, and how she came to realize she needed to get back to a healthier place, as she put it. She described being surprised after she got on the scale for the first time after losing more and more weight. She most certainly knew images would be shown with her story, but she admitted this truth. For some, this wasn't enough. It's as though people want to hear her say, "I was starving myself and lying about it. I have anorexia nervosa." For some, this interview isn't satisfying without full ownership. It could be some feel honesty is important to recovery, and others just want that drama itch scratched. But I think we need to keep in mind this isn't our recovery, and perhaps it isn't for us to do more than support. I'll tell you why I think Eugenia's response is enough. The cornerstone of anorexia nervosa, as I understand it, is low self-esteem and hiding. Eugenia has a history of denying her disorder. It wasn't that long ago she would react as though the suggestion that she was ill was absolutely ridiculous. But the first thing she said in this video was, I was dealing with an eating disorder. True, it's not quite the same ownership as saying I have an eating disorder, but it's huge progress. And what should secure people's support the most is that the proof of her recovery is in her healthier appearance. That should be enough for anyone. My feeling was, it's not for us to decide if Eugenia's treatment is taking. I will tell you later in this video if my feelings have changed when I address Jaclyn Glenn's response video, which I will link below. Regarding recovery, I can tell you, years ago, before I was even a psych student, I was about 20, I had a model friend who was starving herself. I felt terrified. Being the fixer that I was, I did some studying about solutions to this mystery illness that I was certain had a simple solution. I mean, how could someone just not eat? I only had to sell what was the greatest love of my life. I was the opposite end of the spectrum. One of my earliest memories was coming home from school to be told, "Your father's dead, have some spaghetti." I remember walking among a sea of black clothing with a canopy of paper plates above my head. I was confused, but damn, that garlic bread smelled good. I learned early that food was love. I loved food and I loved my friend, so all I had to do was sell her on one of life's greatest joys, the thing that had always made me instantly happier, eating. I was in for some education. Not only did I learn just how complicated her illness was, I found time and again through my research that the main thing that was successful in eating disorder treatment was love. I discovered there was one recovery house that had a huge waiting list due to their success. The first day a patient came to stay, they were merely asked to sit and have a circle of support around them. The staff and some of the residents would sit next to them and hold their hands, repeating positive affirmations, telling them how loved they are and how important they are. In short, the best, safest place is created for them. I wish I remembered the name. If I find it, I'll post it. Eugenia said at one point that she doesn't have the best self-esteem. I believe that's her largest minimizing in the video. That's her not wanting to burden anyone with her pain. She says more than once that she's lucky because she didn't have the usual side effects. She says she believes since she was always, quote, small, that's why people figured there wasn't anything wrong. To me, this is absolutely her minimizing how serious her condition was. It almost sounds like it's not as bad as people make it sound. But that doesn't mean she's that closed off in therapy, which of course has to be ongoing. She's very young, and her disorder is about roots that run very deep for years. She's not going to have all of her breakthroughs instantaneously. Shane didn't press Eugenia on the issues. Normally I'd poke fun at that. I've always said he lobs softballs, and I've even said if Shane Dawson was a judge, no one would go to jail. But that's not something I can fault him for. It's a good quality of his, and it's certainly a quality that should be appreciated in his Eugenia Cooney video. Her disorder requires a safe place. He's not her therapist. He created that safe place for her to feel she can continue treatment while doing what she enjoys and vlogging. He celebrated Eugenia and made her feel good about herself. I believe that is much more productive than triggering a downward spiral that could threaten her recovery. In other words, there is a time and a place for love to be tough. This wasn't the time, and it's not his place. As serious a topic as it is, I'm glad he kept it lighter, while still putting out a video that could potentially help young people struggling with their own eating disorders. Almost immediately after I watched Shane's video, I saw people commenting on Twitter about a response video, and I wasn't sure what they meant. And then I saw somebody say they were watching Jaclyn's video, and I thought, what the hell is Jaclyn Hill doing chiming in on this? She's got a hole in her head as big as her lipsticks if she thinks she's chiming in on this and nobody's going to say anything. Is this the way she came back? Okay, I got a little ahead of myself. It was actually Jaclyn Glenn. Jaclyn, her boyfriend David, and her friend Evangeline did a video about Shane's video. It's clear immediately that Jaclyn is very nervous making this video. She is literally shaking like a chihuahua as she speaks in the first part. The video is 24 minutes long, and right after it, she posted a 3-minute video that gives the truncated Cliff Notes version because Keemstar told her in a phone call her video was too long. Really? Jesus, people have ADD. Okay, moving on. I watched the full 24 minutes and I was glued to the screen. All of the bigger questions I had were answered in this video. I had been wondering, what made Eugenia go into recovery? What were the details? What was the catalyst? Did her mother, who seemed to do nothing in the past, suddenly force her into treatment? Did she faint and have to be taken to the hospital? What happened? It turns out that Jaclyn, being a close friend of Eugenia, after many attempts to get her to see that she needed help, even calling the police a time or two, lured her away from her home where she felt Eugenia's mother was far too controlling, and forced an intervention of sorts. Professionals were brought in, and they evaluated Eugenia, determining that she was in enough imminent danger that she needed to be 5150. And I'll read that description of that for those who don't know. 5150 refers to the California Law Code for the temporary, involuntary psychiatric commitment of individuals who present a danger to themselves or others due to signs of mental illness. That means that Eugenia was taken into their custody immediately. Her mother was screaming on the phone to Jaclyn, calling her every name in the book apparently. Jaclyn and her friends say that they decided to make this video knowing the hate they would get for it because they still feel Eugenia is in a very bad situation with her family. You will either believe them or not. And although I believe them, I've been wrong about people before, it's not that simple. I have mixed feelings about this. On the one hand, I know Jaclyn has a different perspective because she has been friendly with Eugenia and seen her life up close. To her, it may seem Shane is glossing over something important, and that could be a danger. But what I think Jaclyn doesn't get, and perhaps being so close to this situation it's a little too blurry, what she's not getting to me is that people who determine that Eugenia had to be 5150, they didn't do it because they took Jaclyn's word for it. And while she may know that, she's not putting much faith in the people who are giving Eugenia the treatment that has obviously been working. I know that Jaclyn's fear is that putting Eugenia right back at her home is what will make her relapse. But we don't know that. And Jaclyn doesn't know what kind of family therapy they could be in. Jaclyn herself admitted that after a period of time, when Eugenia could have left therapy of her own accord, she chose not to. She voluntarily chose to continue her treatment. Was this enough of a danger that weighing the pros and cons of coming forth with this truth was worth it? There isn't one person in the field of psychology who wouldn't know people with Eugenia's disorder have a problem with detachment in adolescence. In other words, give the professionals some credit for knowing that Eugenia has control issues in her life, and perhaps knowing that her mother can't cut the cord if that's the case. I'm also concerned that Eugenia's mother looks like a villain here when in fact she may have issues of her own. It's easy to get frustrated with her for not getting Eugenia help long ago. As a mother, I sure was. But we mustn't lose sight of the fact that good people make mistakes when they can't see their own illness. Most of all, I'm concerned that Eugenia, seeing her mother vilified and getting hate, is going to be bad for her. How can it be good? If you've listened this far, I sure do appreciate you. I'm sorry there isn't a 3-minute version for those in need of Ritalin. I need to go hug my family after this. It's tough having mixed feelings on a subject, and I hope you can appreciate that it took a little courage for this Hausfrau to approach this topic. And let me know what you think. Was Jaclyn's video necessary? Do you think that Eugenia was in imminent danger? And do you think Eugenia should stay away from the interwebs longer? Looking forward to your thoughts as always. Until next time, be good to yourselves and others. Hausfrau out.